שלום לכם וברוכים הבאים לשיחה נוספת של פרימן. אני אילנית פרימן, מזכ"לית העמותה, וכאן איתי היום נמצא איש מאוד מעניין שמגיע אלינו מלוס אנג'לס. מייקל פי טות'מן. Hello מייקל, שלום מייקל.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. So Michael, you are an educator today. You teach project management in the University of Los Angeles, correct?
University of California at Riverside.
University of California, Riverside. But you have been involved in some of the most exciting projects in the world. You have led some of them. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
I'm very proud that I've been able to lead some of the coolest projects on the planet. And so if you've ever been on an airplane, a passenger airplane, and you had your own individual seatback video entertainment system, that's my baby. Most of the ones flying around today, I had either some influence in the design or I was the project manager of. For 5 years, I did the very customized entertainment systems for the luxury jets of heads of state, celebrities, and what we call very high wealth individuals. So my stakeholders were people like Jackie Chan, Steven Spielberg, and Taylor Swift. And so the great thing about these projects is it encompasses just about every facet of project management, everything from stakeholder management all the way to understanding the scope of the project, conflict management, very tight schedules, and keeping up with the changing tide of technology. The old saying is that technology changes every Monday morning when the board of directors meets. That's basically when the airlines want something new. As soon as somebody stops by a store and sees something hot in the window that would be ideal for the flying passenger, they engage us.
Did you find celebrities hard crowd to work with?
We usually see the celebrities when they come to pick up their aircraft. And that's basically a kind of a walkthrough, show them how to, work everything, make sure they were happy. The manufacturers of the luxury jets, they do a very good job at keeping their celebrity clientele very happy. Where my place would be was at the end doing the walkthrough and getting the sign off.
I see. Well, you've been traveling a lot and you've lived abroad as well. And you have a lot of knowledge and insights about international project management. Can you give us an overview?
The key thing is understanding of culture. And a lot of project managers, we tend to go to foreign lands to do business, bringing with us the elements of our own culture. I think it really is an important thing to do your best to understand the cultural environment of where we're going to do a project, because it's going to permeate every aspect of your project, all the way from stakeholder management to time. Different cultures, different countries view time in a different way. American culture, we tend to be, very respectful of time. If we say 5 o'clock, it's going to be around 5 o'clock. Other cultures view time as sort of a guideline, somewhere an hour or two before or after, a day or two before or after. So it's good to understand that. So you don't make the mistake I did early in my career of showing up 5 minutes early to meetings and sitting in the dark for 30 minutes before anybody else showed up. All right. Understanding organizational structures. Is it a very top-down organizational structure, or is it more freewheeling? And how do they handle conflict? Some cultures are very conflict adverse. Some seem to enjoy it as kind of like a breakfast activity. So,
can you give us an example?
I'm not saying that all companies in Australia kind of like sort of a rough and tumble kind of environment, but it was kind of fun. I remember my first project meeting in Australia, I had to give my customer bad news. And basically they implied in the meeting that my parents were not married when I was born. So the great thing about it is, I kind of like the forthcoming nature of it. They told you how they felt. And I really enjoyed working with Australians. For example, when I was living and working in Japan, bad news is not something that's embraced in Japan. You don't want to be the carrier of bad news. And so to insulate...
Is it a cultural thing? Because I don't think anybody wants to hear bad news anywhere in the world. But is this something which is very, very much in the DNA of the culture?
I think in the culture is that it's not good to be the conveyor of bad news. And so what we do is we hired a third party. The third party agent would be the conveyor of the bad news. So I would have very congenial meetings with my clients, and then later the agent would come and tell me how they really felt. And that was unusual at first, but I tended to, after a while, embraced it because I can always keep myself on a very good one-on-one relationship with my customer and then have somebody later on to convey bad news. It's just working within cultures. That's not how we would do it in America, but it works perfectly well in Japan.
You have a lot of experience with China as well. And you said to me that the culture, the difference in the culture is so extreme sometimes. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Let me give you an example. So back when the first iPhone was being developed, about 6 months before it was going to be released, and you remember when the first iPhone came out, it was crazy. Everybody's in line at the stores for weeks and such. Steve Jobs had just announced it at Macworld. But a couple of days after Macworld, he got his executives together and threw his phone on the table. He'd been carrying a prototype. And he says, take a look at the screen. It's all scratched. I just had coins and my keys in my pocket. I want glass. I want, scratch-proof glass. And everybody's saying, Steve, we're manufacturing already. There's no way we can, have scratch-proof glass. And they didn't even have scratch-proof glass at that time. So they called Corning, and Corning actually had a prototype of scratch-proof glass, but now they needed an empty glass factory, about 200 engineers, and a sense of immediacy. So they called Foxconn in Shenzhen, China, and told them their problem. And Foxconn wanted to bid for the project. So a team from Apple went to Shenzhen just to see what they had. Now, without a contract being signed, Foxconn emptied out a factory, filled it full of engineers, put the equipment in there, and was already cutting glass when the Apple people arrived. And that is incredible. And so they made their date because Foxconn was willing to take a risk. And since the model in China is to surround your company with your suppliers, it was very easy to do. They did Apple wanted to figure out how long it would have taken to do that in America. It would have been 9 months because after all the contract signing and hiring the people and putting in the equipment, they would have never met the due date. So China is amazing.
You also said before, when we spoke earlier, that in China there is no such thing as there's no human resources. If you need the people, you'll have them.
I've never heard the term, we don't have the people. The people they have. The people they have. There's a lot of different videos out there. One is from early in the pandemic in the Wuhan area of China when they were building hospitals in 4 days. And I have another great video of a train station. They needed to put a train station in a province in China. And so they decided to do it at 9:00 p.m. at night when there's no trains running. But they had to have it done by 6 a.m. the next morning when the trains run. And so the video shows bare ground, 6 different teams showing up. And in the middle of the night, they built a train station that was usable the next morning. It's just an amazing amount of coordination and usage of manpower and great project management.
Absolutely. There's just the planning of this and then the coordination between the collaboration between the teams.
Yes. It was just fantastic.
You also mentioned that in China, they are not signing contracts before they know who they're working with. That is quite difficult for people in the West to comprehend.
What they want to do is, and I completely understand their mindset, is they look at a contract as, they're bound by an agreement. So if they've never worked with you before, the mindset is, well, why would I want to obligate our company for a period of time with somebody that we don't even know if they'll perform or not? And there's a lot of wisdom in that. I've worked with, Westerners are like, that's ridiculous. We don't want to do anything without a contract. And I see both sides. But that's the thing. When you go into negotiations, you got to see both sides. If you're going in there just to get a contract signed, then you got your eyes on the wrong prize. You want to build a relationship. And that's the key, especially in Asian countries, is relationship building is key. Now in America and in parts of Europe, getting the signed agreement is key because now you have a relationship. But in Asia, you build the relationship day after day after day. It's a very interesting and sometimes refreshing mindset.
Following what you just said, I recall that you mentioned earlier that companies in China, you would find them very often going out on holidays together and spending time together because they look up to their seniors as a father figure.
Yeah, the company is a family. The company is a family. The boss is the father figure. So in America, it's not really I mean, teams will get together to go karting or play golf together, that kind of thing on the weekend. But just having a 3 or 4 day vacation, not very common. But in China, I'm very active on Chinese social media. I see it all the time.
Do they take their families as well, or the company is the family?
It's just the employees. It's just the employees. And you
so
do,
it's
and
part
you,
of the
and
culture.
You always
so
go. Yeah, you always go.
You don't say, I have to stay home with my wife. How would they take that if you said such a thing?
I don't think anybody would say such a thing. It's
amazing.
It's pretty well understood that, this is what you do, So that's the great thing about, doing projects around the world like I've been blessed to do, is being able to see cultures from a very face-to-face kind of, and understanding, the pluses and minuses of each culture, and walking away going, that was a very different experience than I would get in America, but there was a lot of good to that. There was something I can learn here. And if I could teach anybody anything about doing international project management, is let it impact you. Rather than go in and be obstinate and go, that's not how we do business, embrace how they're doing business, understand their mindset, and learn from them, because I've walked away incorporating several things from different, companies I've worked with, and it's been a very enjoyable experience.
I can imagine. One other thing that you mentioned before is the fact that in China, you don't always know who has the authority to make the decisions.
Right. It's not always as cut and dried as some companies, you're talking to the decision maker. But oftentimes in a lot of countries, especially in Asia, but even in Europe, you don't know exactly who the decision maker really is. And so it's important to build relationships with everyone, but also to ask questions that will help you ferret out who really is the decision maker. You certainly don't want to fly to a foreign land and spend 3 days talking to people who are going to say goodbye to you and go pitch your idea for you. So you want to find out who the decision maker is and understand the intricacies of the culture. What kind of gifts do you want to give? What do you never want to give? And things like that. Americans get a bad rap for making a lot of cultural mistakes, and frankly, we probably deserve it. But, it's important to do your research.
So how do you do the research? Because you have to do the research before you even start.
Yeah, the internet is your friend because there's so many websites out now that will tell you, how to interact with foreign cultures. And, 4 or 5 hours of reading them and you're in great shape. Little things like, you don't want to give a watch or a clock as a gift in China. You're signifying their death, right? Things like that.
So what do you give?
What I want to do is I want to find out, for example, when I'm doing business in China, I want to find out if the decision maker smokes. Now, smoking is kind of on the decline in America, but it's still heavy in China. And so if I find out they smoke, I'm going to bring a couple of cartons of very, very in-demand, high-dollar, American cigarettes. And that always goes over very, very well because I give him a couple of cartons so he can share them. And he's got enough, so that's a good gift.
But once again, if you don't know who the decision maker is, how would you find out what he likes?
There's always somebody going to be setting up the meeting. And so I'll ask, does the boss smoke? What's his favorite brand? They know what I'm doing, right? So.
That is very interesting. Did you find doing business with Europe as challenging as doing business with Asia or other continents?
Yes, because Europe has a very foreign concept to Americans. It's something that we've struggled with. We don't quite understand because we don't do it much ourselves. It's called vacations. Right? Now, in America, a vacation is, I took the afternoon off. Right? In Europe, a vacation is we're not going to work for a couple of weeks. And that is a cultural phenomenon I wish more Americans can embrace. The United Nations once did a study of vacations across the world, and America was ranked number 18 with Nigeria in the lowest number of vacation days. I think our friends in France were number 1. They take the whole month of August off, right?
Yes.
So a lot of times we'll be trying to contact our friends in Europe and they're just not there. Or like, you show up for a 9 o'clock meeting and they're not there yet, right? You're kind of knocking on the door. Anybody there? And they just pull in. It's just a little bit different, more relaxed. I like it. I once had a project. I had half my team in Sweden and half my team in France. Well, Sweden takes most of July off.
And France most of August.
Right? So it was just a lost summer for me.
From your perspective.
Yes, not from theirs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very healthy. I wish, like I said, this is one of those aspects of culture I wish Americans would embrace more.
So is there any other message or anything important that you want to pass on to project managers in Israel about international project management?
I think it's important to, once again, do your research and try to embrace as much as you can. Try to work within the confines of that culture. It's not always easy, but, for many cultures, they value you as a partner more than the project. Because if you become a partner with this company, then there'll be other projects besides the one you're working on. But if you walk in with a single-minded focus is that all I care about is my project and its success, and I meet my scope time and cost milestones and such, it's probably not going to go as well for you. So walk in with some knowledge of the culture. Be open to learning more. Develop relationships first. That is the key. Your ability to work within the culture is going to be directly related to how many relationships you can build. And be as authentic as you possibly can. So those things will serve you well.
That is very interesting because I speak to a lot of project managers, and I think the message that I get more than anything else is be open to the people, understand the people, understand the team, understand the stakeholders, understand the whoever is involved. And what you're saying is kind of expands that message to understanding not just the people, but their culture as well. And I like most of all that you say, embrace it, learn from it. You know, don't think that you know it all, but learn from them, because they must have some kind of philosophy and wisdom behind their attitude, their ways, their way of doing business.
Yeah, they believe our ways are as strange and incomprehensible as we feel about theirs. But there's so much to like in every culture. And I've tried to be much more of an international project manager, where I've taken the best from each culture and try to incorporate it in an agile manner in all of my projects.
How do you become an international project manager?
Doing the work, studying, reading, learning a bit of the language, try to understand the culture, develop relationships of people that will help you. And going in to every engagement with a customer, understanding what is the true purpose of me being here? Is it making this thing, or is it the value of what that thing is to the customer or their customers or their customers? So it's an understanding of what they're trying to accomplish, asking all the right questions, being, mentally agile, but also very inquisitive, and asking, trying to find out, what is their viewpoint?
So thank you very much, Michael, for this.
It's been a pleasure. I enjoy talking about this.
And you also have some history with the PMI.
Yes, I do. I've been, I was a chapter president for a number of years. I've been PMI since, I guess, 2000, the year 2000.
20 years.
Yeah, when I discovered 21. I wanted to be a project manager.
Incredible. So I thank you very much for this conversation. It was fascinating speaking to you. And I am sure that our Israeli viewers would appreciate very much your wisdom and words.
Well, I can't wait to come to Israel and actually meet everybody.
We would love that. We suggested to have one of the PMI's international gatherings in Israel, and hopefully, once flights go back to normal, this would actually come to life.
I will be there.
We would love to have you.
Thank you.
So let me just say a few words in Hebrew.
All right.
ואתם שצפיתם בנו, אני מקווה שהפקתם תועלת רבה מהשיחה המעניינת הזאת שהייתה עם מייקל פי טות'מן לגבי פרויקטים בינלאומיים, אבל בכלל, ואנחנו נתראה בשיחה הבאה. תודה רבה.